Welcome to Extension Out Loud, a podcast from Cornell Cooperative Extension. I'm Paul Treadwell. For many of us, a trip to the grocery store today is an exercise in balancing budget against nutritional need. This math is even more challenging for historically underserved populations. And our episode today highlights the Expanded Food and Nutrition Education Program, or EFNEP, in conversation with Carol Parker, Nutrition and Health Program Leader, and Cynthia Fouyolle, Community Nutrition Educator for Cornell University Cooperative Extension in New York City. EFNEP is federally funded and present in every state and U.S. territory, and this year marks the 55th anniversary of the program. EFNEP program participants learn how to make food choices to improve the nutritional quality of the meals they serve. This learning process uses hands-on workshops and involves both adults and children. Our conversation today looks at the history of EFNEP, the importance of partnerships with schools and community organizations in delivering programs, and the long-term impacts of this program for participants. So join us for this enlightening and hopeful conversation. If you could just both tell me who you are and what you do, and we'll take it from there.
I'm Carol Parker, and currently I am the program leader for the Nutrition and Health Program in Cornell University Cooperative Extension, New York City. And I'm also the regional coordinator for the Food, Nutrition, Education in Communities program out of campus for the metropolitan region, which includes New York City and Nassau and Suffolk County.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Cynthia Fouyolle. I've been working for Cornell University for 11 years as a community educator, working with parents, youth, and seniors.
So we're here today to really talk about the EFNEP program. In early June, you're going to be celebrating the 55th anniversary of EFNEP. Now, one of the things when we start talking about cooperative extension programs is we have a lot of acronyms. So,
Yes.
Carol, could you please tell us what exactly is EFNEP?
EFNEP is an acronym that spells the Expanded Food and Nutrition Education Program. It is a federally funded program through the U.S. Department of Agriculture and now NIPA, National Institute for Food and Agriculture. And it was considered and conceptualized as an expansion of nutrition education to support the other USDA programs that actually provided direct food and or food access, which would be at the time when it was created, food stamps and WIC and other kinds of nutrition programs that provided folks with either access to food through WIC and or with food stamps or for people to purchase food. So at the time when those kinds of programs are developed, the education component was not there. And it was determined that folks were still running out of food at the end of the month. And so this notion of an education arm of the USDA focused primarily on nutrition was what sort of sparked the EFNEP program. And that is what we've been doing. We're the education arm of the USDA Food and Nutrition Services, our food program. And we are targeted to work with parents or caregivers of families with children. So that's the unique element of our program, to work with parents or caregivers of young children.
So can you tell me a little bit about what that work looks like? When you guys go out into the community, what does it look like when you're running an EFNEP program?
Well, historically, we started out as a home visiting program, where we actually visited people's homes. We were working with knocking on doors and doing a lot of that. We did that in New York City too, but about 30, 35, almost 40 years ago, we switched to conducting primarily group. And so we do nutrition education workshop series. We're a series-based program because we are very impact behavior change. Our goal is for behavior change and for behavior impact. And the research does show that over time and with multiple interventions, that we can impact long-term behavior change. So we go and we work with groups. We use approved curricula and we deliver our nutrition education in a group series. These groups are conducted in partnering agencies. Our primary partners in New York City are schools. That's where you find parents of children, Head Start programs, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations. But schools are our primary partners, and we work with the parents in the schools, and we offer this series. The series also include collecting data on behaviors, and dietary intake in a pre-data collection process, and then also collecting the data at the end in a post-data collection.
Mm-hmm.
So we are able to assess impact and behavior change over time. So we do that with adults, and we also do it with a youth audience. We work with 3rd through 12th graders, and we are able to do a pre and post assessment of behavior also with them over a shortened series. With our adults, we aim for about an 8-week series. With our youth, we work with about a 6-week series.
Okay.
And our educators go to these locations and they conduct the workshop series with all of our partnering agencies. And that's a part of what our celebration is about. Whenever we celebrate either the 50th or the 55th, we are really celebrating our partners,
Mm-hmm.
because the model that we're using is that we can't do this work without them, because they help us to recruit and engage and provide space for us to offer our workshop series. And with that, we go to them, do the series. And so we value those partnerships, and we're recognizing those partners in this 55th celebration.
Cynthia, I want to bring you into the conversation. So what is your role in running EFNEP programs?
My role is as a community educator, educate the communities, working, as I mentioned at the beginning, with the youth, with the parents and grandparents. So teaching them how to make healthy eating habits. Okay. During the classes, we have a workshop that is for 8 weeks. So during that time, I teach them how to prepare healthy recipes.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the challenges that we have here in New York City, and I believe all over the world, because food is very expensive. But I'm working here, people in New York, majority of them, they are a busy life, and sometimes they don't have enough time to prepare food at home. And they prefer, hey, let me just buy something outside. So doing this workshop, I had the opportunity to teach them how to prepare low-cost recipe, delicious recipe, and easy to prepare.
Okay.
So sometimes we had ingredients, and majority of the ingredients that we have is the same ingredient that they have at home.
Mm-hmm.
We teach them how to get some resources, like going to the food pantry and get food for free, or maybe also to prepare a shopping list when they go to the supermarket. So that is one of the things that I like. And when I'm working with the youth, I had the opportunity to work with the little one, can be the 3rd, 5th grader, or maybe an up, and they'd be part of the food preparation too. And they'd be like, okay, let's go to play like a chef, and they preparing the mixing the ingredient. And sometimes they have the parents that have a lot of challenge, because majority of the children, they don't like vegetable. We know that. But when we prepare the salad and they are part of the recipe, the food preparation, they say, oh, can I have more? Can I have more? And it's very nice. It's a beautiful moment with participants.
So you do bring up an interesting thing. This is a very hands-on workshop. They're not just sitting in chairs listening to you guys, are they?
This is exactly, that's what they do. We just have a lot of activity. We are not going to be sitting and just listening. No, it's like a 2 hour that we are moving, preparing food, but are also doing the physical activity. And this is another challenge that we have here in New York City. Majority of the people, they don't have the time to do the physical activity. Why? Because maybe they're coming home late, maybe because they're tired. They don't have enough time for many reasons. So during the workshop, beside the lesson, beside the food activity, also we had the physical activity.
So just to follow up on a question that when I was thinking about this came to mind is, are you teaching people how to create healthy meals, how to quickly and easily take what they have? Is there an issue with access to healthy foods in a lot of the neighborhoods you work with, or has that sort of shifted over the past decade?
It continues as an issue in terms of access to quality and affordable foods in the neighborhoods. In the education that Cynthia and the educators do, a part of it is really urging families to pursue every aspect of increasing access. We talk about school meals as an access to food for the children to have healthy meals. We have summer meals coming up.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the food pantries that they might have available. We do have in some instances where farmers market nutrition program where they could have access. And when they go into the stores where they are that they have access to show how to choose among the best that's offered.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a component of what we do. One of the things that have been happening in our communities lately is there's been a lot of street food vending
Uh-huh.
with vendors who are selling a lot of produce, and they're actually produce that's affordable. And it's amazing to see that when affordable food is available and accessible, how much it's purchased and consumed.
Mm-hmm.
So in some of our neighborhoods now, even close to where our office is, our streets are lined with these fruit vendors, and people are shopping and they're getting lots of produce for their monies. So it's one of these things that reminded me that if people have access and it's affordable, they'll buy it.
Yeah.
They'll buy it.
Carol, too, you mentioned partners, and the 55th anniversary celebration is going to focus on your partners. So who are some of your key partners that help you implement these programs? And how do you make connections to new partners? How do people find out about EFNEP and participate?
One of the things, and that's one of the beautiful things about our 55-year history, and certainly in what we're doing in New York City, I usually like to describe us as being rooted and planted in the neighborhood. The communities that we're working in are the communities that we've been working in for over 50 years. We've been there. A lot of other community-based organizations and programs have come and have gone, but we are still there. We've invested in the communities in several ways. Number one, we have offices in several of the locations. We have an office in the South Bronx. We used to have an office in Harlem. We have an office in Brooklyn. We have an office in downtown Jamaica in Queens. So we're located in the communities that we serve. Additionally, we hire the program participants that graduate out of the program, and they live there. So we're grounded again. We have educators who live in Far Rockaway, Brooklyn, the neighborhoods in which we're working, or we hire the program graduate and they plant them again. So it's like a process of planting and reaping the harvest. With COVID having such a negative impact on so many things,
Mm-hmm.
out of COVID, I felt like we had this reignition of just the need to get back out into the community. And it happened this past summer. And in getting back in the community, I went with the staff to many of the program activities that they hosted. They had community fairs, and then they had back to school events. They had welcoming new immigrants into the neighborhood type of events, truly community outreach events. At those events, Paul, I met so many of our program graduates who were now agency staff people working in schools, working in Head Start programs, working with the Red Cross, working in so many of our affiliated agencies that I was so blown away. They would tell me about who their educator was and what has happened to them and how they were motivated. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this truly, we're looking at building the capacity of these families that we worked with. And I was able to see the results. This is, Paul, it's almost over 30 years I've been doing this work. I was so overwhelmed. I was like, oh my goodness. What we believed in and invested in was truly manifesting it.
Mm-hmm.
So we've built these years of relationships. We've grown individuals. Okay. They've gone back into it. They're working with new agencies. So we're establishing the connections. And as our educators continue with their underground work with directly working with participants and agencies that we work with, our staff supervisors and our program coordinators are working with the administrative level. We're working with the directors of the Division of Youth and Community Development. We're working at the district office in the schools. We're working with the Department of Education, program directors that are dealing with our new immigrants in New York City,
Mm-hmm.
that are working special initiatives and projects. We're working with the coordinators of the Stella Farmers Market program, of the Green Market. So while we're working at the administrative and leadership level of our partnering agencies in New York City, our educators are working with the grassroots, working directly with our program partners, and we're building this connection. Cynthia just told me that when she went to one of our community-based organizations to talk about the summer program,
Mm-hmm.
the coordinator mentioned to her, I met your supervisors at a presentation that was targeted to our youth work. And so we're working together and reaching out in these multiple ways to reach our families and our communities. So I am just feeling so good about this celebration and this milestone year for us, because I feel as if that program that we planted is now, it really is blooming and the harvest is there, right?
Cynthia, I want to flip back to you. You said you've been doing this work for 11 years now.
Yes.
Have you seen this transition from program participant to a staff person working for one of the organizations? And can you talk a little bit about their journey?
I think I have a good example. And last Saturday, I was working in some activity that sometimes we have in the park. We call that health fair, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of my participants, she take my class many years ago. And so she came and I said, hi, hello. She gave me a hug and she came with the family. She said, you remember, that is my son. So one of the things is when we have the participant and they say, you know what, I learned this for you because of you. I make this change with my family because of you, because of the program. And one of the things about the program is not only the food preparation, it's not only the exercise, it's not only what they be learning, it's the passion that we share with the participant, it's the respect that we show to them, it's the welcome that we give to them. I cannot describe how emotional that I feel to have the opportunity to be working for Cornell University for many years. So when Karen mentioned some participant become a community educator, I am one of them. So I start from the farmer market. It was a good opportunity because I had the opportunity to learn about the community, talking with different people with different beliefs. So after I passed my time, I think I did maybe like a 2 or 3 years during the farmer market because that is only a part-time job for the system.
Mm-hmm. So, Carol, 55 years. Do you have any ballpark, a number about how many people have been impacted by EFNEP programming in New York City over 55 years?
Yeah, in New York City. So I was thinking about that question. Typically, we work on a basis in terms of educators have a caseload expectation of a number of people that they need to work with. So our caseload has been based on in terms of FTEs, but on an average, we're talking about it, let's say in the last 10 years, on an average, we would reach about 5,000 to 7,000 adult participants per year, except for COVID. You know what happened with COVID? We're just on the recovery process, and about that many youth. And as I was saying, our intent with reaching what we call the gatekeeper of the nutrition and health in the family, which is usually the primary caregiver of the children, is that impact that we have. We multiply by the participant, the number of people in the family, because that gatekeeper is the person who is establishing the behavior practices, putting things into place, and impacting on the total behavior and eating habit of the whole family. So we have a multiplier effect through that. So our participant, then we reach our average of that many per year in adult, and we multiply that by the average family size. Granted, family size has been dwindling over the last couple of years. So our family size, I remember when we started, was closer to 5. I know it's closer to 3, but that multiplier effect tremendously worked. Now that is in our nutrition education series. We also do what we call awareness education and indirect education when we do have events where we're only seeing people for one. We're seeing them once. When we do health fairs, we do baby showers, we do back to school events, we do farmers market work. When we're doing those kinds of events, in an average season, a farmers market season, we can reach anywhere from 18 to 20,000 people. And then our season of health fairs, which are typically in the spring and in the fall, we can reach anywhere from 10 to 15,000. So those events, we consider them to be indirect and just simply awareness. But we introduce people to some simple concept where we know that behavior is affected by the process and the interaction that they have with us. So our most impactful one certainly is our sugar sweetened beverage, understanding how many teaspoons of sugar are in soda. Those are great. And then also when we do work in terms of fruits and vegetables, how to increase and add some color to it, that we do our meat the vegetable. or meet the fruit kinds of activities. So we have that level of impact when we do indirect education and then also when we're doing direct education.
There's a lot of linguistic diversity in New York City. What languages are EFNEP programs presented in the city? Do you have a broad spectrum or is it fairly focused?
It's broad and it's getting broader. We have always we have a large number of staff who are bilingual in Spanish and English. And over the years, we recognize that the linguistic needs, as you said, change. And so we've had a long-term staff person who's also Haitian Creole and French.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had one educator who spoke 3 languages, English, French, and Spanish. And so we've had that. We recognize the need to reach our East Asian population. So we at one point hired staff from Korea. We had Chinese educators who, speak Mandarin and Cantonese. We recognize also that there's a South Asian, a new emerging need for that. So we've hired an educator who speaks Bengal and Hindu and Urdu, I think. Yes. So we've been responsive in outreaching and recruiting and hiring individuals to meet those emerging linguistic needs in our communities. And it's been extremely valuable. And we're also now doing, thank goodness for virtual. There's some things that came out of COVID that was great. We actually have, because we have one Creole speaking educator in New York City who is doing virtual workshops across counties. They're teaching virtual workshops to participants who live in Suffolk County. And our new statewide nutrition program is conceptualizing the fact that in pockets of the state where we have these language needs and it's impossible to meet those needs by hiring folks in those other regions of the state, that we could do some of that remote virtual work with our New York City or our metro region staff. So we're looking at potentially working with folks in Erie County and other places where they might have pockets of language needs that we could meet in New York City and then seeing if we could do that virtually to be able to reach those families.
So just following up on the linguistic diversity issue is cultures treat food differently. So how does the EFNEP program respond to cultural differences?
Right. And I'll answer part of it and I'll ask Cynthia to share also. Our program is a program that is based on needs and interests. As we work with families, although we're coming with a curriculum in terms of the content that we need to cover, the messaging around chronic disease prevention, there is some liberty and certainly diversity in what our educators could do.
Mm-hmm.
And we ask them to consider the participant's needs and the participant's interests. So this is one concept. Our immigrant families who have young children are very curious about American food that their children are being exposed to in the schools. Pancakes, waffle, cereals, whatever. Okay. So the children are getting that in the schools, and it might not be a common practice to eat it at home, but they're being exposed to it. So there's an interest in us sharing some of that information with them. Thanksgiving is one of those big ones. Thanksgiving comes up, and what do you do with a turkey? What is cranberry sauce? All of that stuff. What is stuffing? How do you cook? So that's one of those holidays where we get exposed to having our new families understand and be exposed to what it would look like. However, we also are working with the fact that especially first generation immigrants are still connected to their foods. The bottom line though, Paul, is that it's the same food. It's beans, it's potatoes, it's rice, something in a pasta, it's some kind of vegetable. So it's the same foods. The difference is the seasoning and how it's cooked. So we're using black beans, brown beans, chickpeas. We're using corn, cilantro, vegetables, greens. It's the same. It's just the cooking, the recipe. So that is what is adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as if there are times when we introduce meet the vegetable, a brand new fruit or a brand new vegetable. However, for the most part, it is using what people already have. So it's introducing it. So I'll ask Cynthia to tell you a little bit more about how she does that with the participants and the families.
I have different people from different country. Okay. Sometimes I have maybe mixed Spanish country or maybe Spanish country, Spanish with another, maybe African or maybe Bangladesh. Like Carol say, at the end of the day, is almost the same food. What is the key here is the way to prepare the food. For example, a lot of people, they like chicken, right? And they love fried chicken. And when you mention chicken, they feel so, oh my God, so excited about the fried chicken. So when I explain to them about the benefit, when it's about health, when they be cooking the chicken instead frying, maybe bake or maybe boil it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do a recipe, maybe using a canned beans, and maybe they say, but the canned beans have a lot of salt. And they complain a little bit, but when I explain to them how to use it, how to prepare, how to reduce the salt when they are cooking the food, and how to prepare maybe some salad. All the time I say, I have a friend and I say, don't ask me to be cooking rice and beans because I don't have the time, but I can make a salad very easy and quick.
Mm-hmm.
All the time I say that. But when the participant, for example, Mexican participant, they love to eat tortilla.
Mhm.
Okay. It's like the Spanish people, especially Dominican, we love to eat rice. Okay. So, but when I had the opportunity with my participant, working from my heart, I said, you know what? You can use your tortilla, but let's go to see if you can try the whole wheat tortilla. And I explained to them what is the difference between the whole grain, between the refined grain, and what is the consequence when we are eating so much refined grain. So the key is here the way they prepare the food. And that's why we are here in New York City, teaching them how to prepare healthy food on the healthy way. They're not going to stop eating the rice. Okay, white rice is not a problem. White tortilla is not a problem. It just when to use it and the amount they use it. So that I think that is the key. And I think we'll be successful with that. So I say, you are not going to start eating your chicken, but what about if one day, okay, you can eat your chicken wings one day, but what about if you maybe bake it?
Carol, I know you have to head out soon. Is there something you would like to say that needs to be said that hasn't been said yet?
What could I say? That this work, I just think back to the initial conception of EFNEP and what was intended to do. And whenever I read the history of EFNEP, I remember that. A part of the EFNEP piece, the part of the development of the EFNEP legislation and the source of this program, it was not only about nutrition education and changing the lives of family in terms of their behaviors and practices. There was a component of EFNEP that was related to building self-confidence and self-esteem. So when it initially started and folks did primarily home visiting, they would be visiting in 55 years ago, they would be visiting what they call homemakers. These were women who were at home oftentimes raising the children and isolated in some way, shapes or form, whatever. And that EFNEP home visitor went into the home and not only taught the families or the women there, the mothers or the caregivers, how to prepare healthy meals and do this. They also gave them confidence. They motivated them. They inspired them. They impacted on their self-esteem. So just thinking back to that whole conception and having been working in this field and doing this for over 35 years, I have seen that transformation with our educators, with the participants. I see that transformation, and it is worth it. It is worth it. Seeing that, the lives, because when you think about the one life, but you also think about the lives that surrounding that one life. You think about the parents, the partners, the children. This is about building capacity from the inside out.
Awesome.
Really.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia, anything that we missed or anything that you would like to add?
What I can say, just I want to continue touching people's lives in my community. I love my job. I love what I do. It's not only about nutrition, also is when we can connect emotionally with them. I have the hope that I can continue touching people and changing lives in my community and just be here with them. And I cannot describe the way that I feel right now talking about this, about what I do in the community. And to have the great opportunity to be working for Cornell University, working with Caro for many years. and for the rest of the staff. We are a family here in Cornell University, and we have something in common. At the end of the day, is to teach people how to change eating habits.
I just have to say, this has been incredibly uplifting to have this conversation with both of you. It really does bring a sense of hope to the work that we do. Is there anything else we should say about the celebration that we haven't said?
We couldn't do it without our partners. We couldn't do it without them. It's all about them. And so they're the bridge for our participants, and we have to recognize it, evaluate, and show our appreciation of that.
Thank you for listening to this episode. For more information about this episode, including show notes and the transcript, visit extensionoutloud.com. And be sure to subscribe to Extension Out Loud on your favorite podcast directory.